From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello. You have reached the Badass Counseling Show. Whether you are checking in from Salem, Oregon, or Mississippi, down from Australia, or up in Edmonton, Canada, it's great to have you here with us. I am Sven, the host of this show, and it is fantastic to have you joining us. We love answering questions on our lightning rounds. Lightning rounds post on Sundays, and on Thursdays, we counsel people on this show. This is not an interview show. We don't interview people normally. We have only ever interviewed one person on this show. Otherwise, we strictly counsel and answer questions, and that's what we're doing this evening. I'm joined by my team in studio, part of the team. I've got KC over in the booth. Sophia, the artist, is not available to join us this evening, and I have Rob the Rocket, ever faithful. Rob, what say ye?
Always exciting at the beginning of lightning round to see what comes in. We just never know what might pop up, and it's always interesting.
And so we are off and running. I have Danielle asking the question, how do you handle stepchildren that ignore you and you have tried everything to fix it? You say, how do you handle? Presumably, they are not doing anything other than ignoring. So when you say handle, it's not as if they are causing problems per se. You know, they're not stirring up shit or, you know, back to Sound of Music. They're not putting a pine cone on your chair and you sit on it. You know, that would be rather benign, but I love Sound of Music. Greatest movie of all time. Second greatest, of course, is Amadeus. Not the point. How do you handle it? I'm betting what you're really trying to handle is your feelings at being rejected and not being loved, no matter how hard you've tried. You want to be integrated into the family with them. And it's hard to be rejected. And you're trying, if I'm betting, what you're really asking is, how do I make them like me and integrate me? You can't. If they don't want you, they don't want you. And so at some point you have to let it go. Now, that doesn't mean you be mean or rude or anything like that, but you have to let it go. And what you have to do then is you have to, with your therapist or on your own, you need to be flush out like a toilet, flushing out your feelings of pain, rejection, sadness, maybe embarrassment, sense of betrayal. You need to be flushing out your feelings of how it makes you feel to know that they aren't interested in you. They don't want a relationship with you. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to be a jerk to them. In fact, don't. That doesn't help anything. But you also don't have to sort of, lick their anus trying to get them to like you. That weakens you and it makes you look weak, and then they can be mean to you. No, stand up, let it go, walk on. And the day may come where they actually come around, all right? But here's the other side of it. I'm willing to bet you actually have feelings towards your present their father. I'm assuming you're in a relationship with a man. And I don't know why I'm assuming that, but playing the odds, you're in a relationship with a man and these are his children. I have to believe you have some feelings of animus towards your partner and that your partner is allowing this. Or that your partner isn't doing more to facilitate the growth of a relationship. And in all likelihood, for what it's worth, those stepchildren are probably not truly angry at you. They're probably angry at him, and or they are disappointed and saddened that the relationship between their parents disintegrated, and they are feeling left out. But more than likely, they probably resent you because their need for love from their father is going unmet. And they likely, and I'm only saying this because I've seen this a lot. I'm not saying it is the case because I don't know. I'm just saying if I were betting without knowing what is actually happening, this is what I'd bet on, simply because this is what usually happens, that their father is giving all of his attention and love to you and not to them. And so they're feeling shorted on love, and so they resent you. They believe that you're the problem, when in fact, the real problem is that their father isn't giving them the love that they need. So if you're really, and maybe you're already doing this, but you should be facilitating, in fact, pushing him to be giving love to his children. One of the things that I did when I met my present girlfriend, one of her daughters was a teenager. And plus my girlfriend runs a very large company. And I was facilitating the two of them to have a date night every week. by themselves. And one of the things I found for them, and they just fell in love with it, was, they're not even religious, but the local Catholic church had bingo night every Wednesday night in the basement. So the two of them would go out for sushi, and then they'd go to the Catholic church basement and they'd play bingo with all these old ladies, and they just had a fucking ball. And that became their thing. And the other daughter, I paid for the occasional trip for her to go visit her other daughter down in DC from the New York City area. And so what am I getting at? I'm betting the kids resent you, but who they're really mad at is their father, because they're feeling unloved and unseen and unwanted. Now, if you can facilitate that relationship, not that you'll necessarily benefit, but they'll be getting their needs met, and that makes for a happy home. And rather than viewing you as the person who took their love, they'll begin to view you potentially as a person who finally helped them get the love that they wanted from their father. Furthermore, you have every right to stand up to him and say, hey, you need to fucking help facilitate this fucking relationship, because it doesn't sound like he's helping things much. Next question. True forever to you asked this question on TikTok. How do you start waking up in the morning without negative thoughts and depression? The only way you are going to solve negative thoughts and depression is by drilling down to the roots of your negative thoughts and your depression. And what are the real roots of it? It always dates back to childhood. It's not what's going on in your life right now. You didn't wake up in the morning of your birth being depressed and fucking hating life. No, shit happened inside of you. Shit happened to you, and you weren't your responses, your emotional responses, and the messages you were taught about yourself. It all got embedded, and it's still in you. And until that shit actually comes out of you, it's going to continue to weigh you down from the inside. So you have to go down into the origins of that shit and begin to root it out. Well, how do you do that? I could explain it all right here, but the bottom line is, just for simplicity's sake, I created 1,500 videos on social media. Actually, that's more than that. It's like 1,600 or 1,700 free videos. Every single one of them is a journaling prompt. Every single one of those, just get a fucking pad of paper and a pen and start journaling about what it makes you feel, what you're thinking about, what it causes you. And it causes you to go into yourself and begin to ask questions. Ask why. Begin to flush it out. Write letters to the people that you have emotional charges attached to the memories of that person. Or we've got this podcast. Every single episode here is every single question on these lightning rounds is something that you can be going into with your own journaling. I literally have people reaching out to me from parts of the country or in Canada or across the world who say, Sven, I can't get therapy, or it's not available, or can't afford it, or whatever. And so I've just used all your free materials, and I've gotten more out of that than, because you pushed me to think about this or think about that. And so then I combine it with journaling or with writing letters I don't send. And it's enabled me to do a lot of fucking healing, literally free of charge. Remember, folks, I'm a huge believer in self-help. I'm a believer in therapy if you're getting good therapy from a good therapist, but I'm a huge believer in self-help. I had to get myself out of a 12-year suicidal depression. All right. I couldn't find a therapist to help me. So all of my counseling method is based on the shit I've had to do myself. So all my shit is tested. Plus, I've been using it on clients over 30 years. And then if you prefer, just get the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's my method. It'll help you flush that stuff out. It'll help you find your authentic self, all right? It's an audiobook, paperback, a bunch of different languages. It'll help you drill down and find your authentic self. There's a workbook, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how you start. The way you start waking up in the morning without negative thoughts and depression is going down into the origins of where the fuck that's coming from. And you're going to need help identifying it, but it's going to require drilling down. All right. Amber Heiberger on Facebook asks, I would like to know more about attachment styles. Also, I'm working on staying single, but I desperately want a partner. Do you have any advice or wisdom on this Jekyll and Hyde personality that I have going on right now? You'd like to know more about attachment styles. Attachment styles is basically, that's a construct of psychology. I am not a psychologist. If you had a more specific question regarding that, I'd be happy to answer it, but I don't use psychological language. I stay in my lane. But if you have a specific question regarding something like that, basically everything, here's my fundamental premise, and it relates to the rest of your question. If you're ever trying to understand why, and I talk about this in the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. If you are ever trying to understand why someone is doing something that doesn't make sense, or they're not doing something that would seem to make sense, like basically they should be doing it, like it would be logical or reasonable that they would do it, but they don't seem to be doing it, always ask yourself the question, what's the primary fear driving the behavior? Speculate the answers, and then go with the biggest, hairiest, scariest one. So when it comes to attachment styles are driven by fear. It's always fucking fear, past pain, which is driving fear, but not just that. See, that's usually where most therapy stops. It addresses past pain, trauma, and it encourages you to get all that fucking pain out. And that is all good. That is good. But where I go deeper is the bullshit beliefs you were taught to believe about yourself. Now, this is like master level shit. You've got to have the balls to go down deep and begin to identify, and you got to have the right tools to go down deep and identify what you were taught to believe about yourself, because you can't see that shit on your own. Not without like long time, but you can accelerate the process with the right fucking tools. So in this case, I'm working on staying single, but I desperately want a partner. Nothing wrong with wanting a partner. Nothing wrong with staying single. And oftentimes we can get the work done when we are single, because when we have a partner, what's the incentive to work on your shit if you got a fucking partner, right? It's harder to do because you've got this thing going on in front of your face that feels good, and so on and so forth. So you asked, do you have any advice or wisdom on this Jekyll and Hyde personality that I have going on right now? Yeah, you have fear going on right now. And you need to drill down to where the fuck this fear is coming from, because it's not just coming from that relationship that you got hurt in. It's coming from pain way back there in your past. And you need to begin to identify what those pains were, but also what it taught you about your own sense of worth, your own sense of value, and whether or not to trust your own inner voice and your own sense of self, and whether or not your own intuition can be trusted. That's the shit that you really need to be drilling down into, because it's not surface level shit. And it's not just, change your behaviors. This isn't about behaviors. As they talk about in the book, trying to change behaviors never changes behaviors long term. Never. Until you drill down and change the core beliefs driving the behaviors, you will always rubber band back to the past behaviors. You have to change the core beliefs driving the behaviors. All right, next question. All right, this person has asked this question twice here on TikTok, so I will briefly answer it. She asked the question, can you explain the Sedona Method, or at least the gist of it? Okay, in my book, there's this hole in my love cup. I talk about one particular method that is an entirely separate book. Okay, I need you guys to hear me closely. In my book, at the very beginning of my book, I recommend 9 books that you can read. If you were to read those 9 books, you don't need to read my book. For the most part, I do have 1 or 2 fundamental original things in my book that you're not going to get in those that are absolutely essential, and particularly drilling down to core beliefs. None of the other books that I've ever read touch that. Okay. But what Sedona Method does, and this is not a beginner book. You don't start with Sedona Method. Sedona Method will not help you identify core beliefs. It will not have the effect of journaling. Sedona Method is a tool for once you are able to identify feelings, and some people don't know how to identify feelings, so Sedona Method isn't going to help you. Once you are able to identify what you feel, once you are able to already go into your past and find those memories that have emotional charges attached to them, Sedona Method is a mechanism for accelerating the decharging of those emotional charges that are attached to the memory. And what it is, it's just a sequence of 5 questions, and you cycle through those questions, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And I have no idea how the fuck it works. You just do it, and it fucking works. I literally use the Sedona Method 5 times a day, minimum. But it's just a tool for releasing problems. It doesn't help you identify your problems, or for releasing emotion. It doesn't help you identify your problems. It doesn't help you drill into your past. It just takes, you had a bad meeting and you're charged up because you're pissed off at your boss. It will help you release that anger quickly. But if you're not even a person who believes in feelings, or you don't believe it's possible to release feelings, or it's not a priority, Sedona Method isn't going to help you. There are other steps. So Sedona Method is more of an advanced book for when you're ready for that, but that's what it is. Next question.
Sven, over on YouTube, a professional question.
Yep.
And it's from Savannah, who asks, would you ever teach your method to others to utilize in their own practices?
I get asked this question a lot. I have people reaching out to me. I actually have an email in my inbox of somebody who wants me to mentor them. Would I ever teach my method? And what this is an ongoing question that I have with one of my business advisors, my primary business advisor. And I have mixed feelings on this because my method is not a method per se, Savannah. I mean, fundamentally, if you want the short answer, you can teach it to yourself. In all honesty, and I'm not being cheeky here, all right? I've got the answer you're looking for, but if you were to take the book and take Badass Wisdom, which is the 366-day inspirational book, you're going to get a big bulk of sort of how I think and what you need to begin to be doing. And I'm writing the sequel to Love Cup. It's going to take me probably a year before it's done, but you take this, and there are some powerful tools in there. But fundamentally, the Badass Counseling Method is not something you can learn from the outside. And I've said to people before, I'd be happy to put my seal approval on you, but you got to earn it. And you can only earn it by going through it yourself. At this point of the game, I would never endorse anyone if I didn't counsel them first. And the truth is, you can if it's just about learning the tools, learn the book. I have had people who've read this book back and forth like 5 times, 6 times. I got a guy over in Germany. He's translated the German version. Alex, this guy's, he's like, Sven, this fucking book changed my fucking life. And I want to, and he's translated into German, and I want to advertise it in German, blah, 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 blah. He says, I just believe in it. He doesn't do this work. He's in a completely different line of business. He says, I just believe in this book. So you can take it and run with it and incorporate it into your practice on your own. I'm just not going to put a seal of approval on it until you've actually experienced it from the inside, because you don't know the power of the method until you experience it in your own life. You don't know the true power of the method until you experience it. But in all honesty, just one more thing on that, Savannah. One of the things we've talked about is creating a school or creating workshops or something. And it's something we kick around. The thing is, we've got so many things going on that we're trying to create and build and grow. But that is, I swear to God, I literally right now have 4 psychiatrists who are clients of mine. We've got 1 or 2 in Community Plus. We've got psychologists. I don't even know how many psychologist clients I've had in the last year, as well as therapists who are in the group, psychologist members of the Community Plus group, plus the 45,000 member group on Facebook. So hopefully they're learning. Why? I've learned from people, before me, and any tools that I can give you, take them. I'm just not going to put my seal of approval on you until you actually learn it from the inside. That's the only difference. But if you got any of my tools, take it, go. A buddy of mine, Rob, he was my best friend at one point. And when he was in college, he wrote a song. He was Catholic, going to a Catholic college. He was a few years older than me. And he wrote a song that was performed for the Pope, midnight mass at the Vatican, Christmas Eve. And it went on to be a huge song, and it's still big. And this was 30 years ago. It's still big at Christmas time. And it's an inversion of the song Silent Night, and it's called Night of Silence. And it has been orchestrated with full choir or acoustic guitar, one person, all sorts of stuff. And he said something once about the creative process. And he said, you create this piece of music and you sort of throw it out there into the universe like a boomerang. And then it comes back to you. And it's something very different. And other people have taken it in all these different directions. And it's just neat to see what people have done with it. So when I tell people, you take what I've done or, take my method and apply it, you're going to do far greater things than I've done. I mean it. I mean, even we just interviewed Jeremy Hardy on the show, on the counseling episode. We had done it. He's the only person we've ever interviewed on the show. Top-ranked Special Forces operator in the entire U.S. military, enlisted when he was still serving. And he's now getting his doctorate in psychology and so forth. He will be able to reach people that I can't reach. Okay? I have actually 2 guys who are in the ranching industry who are starting coaching practices. We're ranchers, and they're just like, Sven, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, fucking go for it. And what I said to one of these guys, Troy, I said, Troy, you're going to be able to reach people that I can't reach because you speak their language and you have your own experiences.
No bull.
Or with the bull in his case, or just a different kind of bull. And so the point is that we each weave together our own story into the method. It's not the method, it's the method with your story. And if your story and your experiences aren't being woven into your method, you're limiting your power. I used to believe, and I still believe, that great preaching as a former clergyman is when the preacher is bringing her own wrestling and his own wrestling with the message and with the scripture or whatever it is into it, bring their own story in so that it's personalized, so that your own struggles and your own triumphs, people can learn from my failures and learn from my struggling and wrestling with this particular text. And so, Savannah, you'll do far greater things than I've done. But I just happen to have some tools. But if you actually wanted the imprimatur, or you wanted to learn it sort of my feet, so to speak, disciple or student, whatever, you would have to come and learn it from the inside as an actual client, at least at this stage, because I haven't created a sort of school yet. Yeah.
And one of the things you say that I really love is that to be a really good counselor, you have to heal yourself first.
Amen. Amen. And we think we are healed. But to bring someone in who can take us potentially, and I no disrespect, you've probably already been there, and if you have, God bless you, but potentially take us to places we didn't even know exist within us. It's just, fucking mind-blowing. And you've probably already done it on your own, Savannah, but in some cases, it's like, oh, fuck, I didn't even know this existed.
Sven, you know what's really mind-blowing to me? Community Plus. What's that about?
Community Plus, we just started within the last 6 months. Community Plus is for people who want to level up their group, their support group and growth group experience. We have a group on Facebook that has 45,000 members, and it is the Badass Counseling Group on Facebook. It's free of charge. But we began to have people who said, Sven, I just want something that's more. That's a nice group, but we want something that's more, where people are really serious about growth and support. And so we built a fee-based group. It's not cheap, but there are so many perks. You get access to me directly twice every single month. It's a limited enrollment group. And we also have drawings every month for free small group counseling with me, drawings every month for free one-on-one counseling with me. We have priority pass access to come onto the show, to be considered to come on the show for free counseling, priority pass access to jump to the head of the waiting line if you actually want regular counseling with me, free access to do-it-yourself videos. It's called Community Plus. It is on the Badass Counseling website. Go fucking check it out.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform, and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with a lightning round of the Badass Counseling Show. Lots of questions flying at us here. All right. Do you have advice for preventing procrastination? Yeah, I do. I don't believe in procrastination. It doesn't exist. And you're like, well, that's just fucking dumb. It's funny. I had this conversation with one of my kids, and my kid basically said, what do you do with procrastination? I said, procrastination doesn't exist. Well, think about it. What is procrastination? You're putting off doing something. Okay. Why is that bad? Why is putting off doing something bad? Well, because I should. Why should you? Seriously, why should you? You obviously don't want to. Okay, then don't. Well, what if it doesn't get done? Okay, then it doesn't get done. Well, then I get in trouble. Okay, then you get in trouble. You're obviously okay with that. Otherwise, you'd do it. You're not doing it says what? I don't want to do it. Okay, but I'm going to play the ball as it lies. I'm going to answer your question a little more straight. I'm going to pretend that procrastination actually exists. See, what I think procrastination is, it's just a statement of your values. You don't want this. And so what I think it really is you're not living your values. You're not being who the fuck you really are. You're procrastinating because you don't want this. You don't want to do this, whether in this moment or overall in your life. So stop fucking doing it. Why are you living a life that you don't want to fucking live? You're continuing to choose it. Okay. This is your life. So you don't prevent procrastination, you solve it. How? By, first of all, beginning to create a life that is reflective of who you really are and what you really want. But the fact that you haven't done that already implies that you have fear of creating a life that is who you are and what you really want. So then you've got to drill down to what are those fears, but more importantly, where are those fucking fears coming from that are causing me to live a life that is not who I am and what I want? There is something operating inside of you. And as I talk about in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Living an authentic and happy life is dependent upon, one, hearing your own inner voice inside, two, having the courage to heed that voice, and then three, the master level step of letting go of results. Okay. And so but most of the action for most folks happens back here. Either you can't hear your own inner voice, or B, you can hear it, but you're terrified of executing it. Why would a person be terrified or not able to hear their own inner voice? Why? Because they don't want to slow down. It requires solitude to hear your own voice. And most people spend their whole lives running from that tidal wave of all their pain, fears, and bullshit beliefs they've been taught about themselves. That if I stop moving, if I stop distracting, if I stop escaping through booze, pot, pills, drugs, overworking, overparenting, overexercising, gambling, cheating, all these things to escape, all this stuff, if I slow down for just 1 minute, all that pain is going to wash over me. All right, so I got to stay in motion. They don't want to slow down. They would love to live a more authentic life, but they're terrified of being overwhelmed by all that pain and shit in their lives, right? So some people can't even, they'd love to maybe hear their own voice, but they can't because they're terrified of all the feelings and all the shit from their past. But some people can hear their own voice, but they're terrified of actually executing it, of living who they really are. So they're living this life that they're constantly procrastinating. They're living this life that they're just sort of dragging ass through. Why? They don't want this fucking life. This isn't who I really am. It's not their authentic voice. Why would they be afraid to execute who they really are? Why? Because they get attacked. They get criticized. I know if I put out there who I really want or what I really want to do or what I really want to live for my life, I know exactly what my brother will say, or I know exactly what my fucking mom would say. Or I know exactly what my friends would say. Exactly. And that's just too fucking scary. I'll keep it inside. Thank you very much. That the idea of living authentically on the outside, who I really am on the inside, is so fucking scary that I will just keep that in. Thank you very fucking much. Right. So procrastination is when you're living a life that isn't fully fucking you. And you're okay. Obviously, you're okay just letting it go. So how do you stop procrastinating? How do you stop procrastinating? You start living a life that is authentic, such that you have no desire to procrastinate. You're making a choice. Just start fucking being okay with your fucking choices. All right. And accept that. And if not, then you need to get down. You need to start going inside and saying, what's really at the root of why I'm procrastinating? All right. And Caritas brings up a good point here. That's a really good point. Caritas over here on TikTok says, fear of judgment. If you don't do it, no one can judge you for what you've done, right? And this is a person who's encountered a lot of pain in the past, fear of failure, right? So if I just fly below the radar, if I never put my nuts out there, then no one can fucking judge me, right? So I'll just put everything off, take no action, never stick my neck out there. Yeah, so there are any number of a million reasons to procrastinate, but in the end, it's always driven by fear, and you need to identify what your fears are. Next question, Vivian Costanzo on Facebook. Why am I broken after the scumbag left me for a nightclub singer? We were married 27 years. Why are you broken? Honestly, it's pretty obvious. Because you love someone and they left you after 27 years. And they left you for what is for you not a seemingly honorable person. It sounds like the way you phrase it. Left me for a nightclub singer, as if that's a bad thing. Sounds like it is for you, okay? And it hurts. Why are you broken? Because it hurts. You got rejected. That's why. And it hurts. 27 years of your life you gave to this person, and they left you. And you are hurting, and you are broken. And if you weren't hurting and broken, I would say you are lying. But you're telling the truth. You've got so much hurt and rage and pain and sadness and feeling betrayed, feeling rage and feeling anger and sadness and hatred and everything else again and again and again and again a million times. You have so much in you, and all of that has to come out, Vivian. All of it. You have to begin the process of flushing out your pain. And where I would recommend that you begin is by writing him letters that you do not send. You may want to send them, but nothing is going to be gained. You think there will be, that if you can just say the right words, you can get them back. That goal isn't to get them back, because that's giving him power. You want something. If someone has the power to make you miserable, when they have something that you want, they have the power to make you miserable by saying no. If your goal is to heal and no longer be broken, you have to flush out all the pain. Start by writing him letters that flush out all the rage, all the anger, but also all the love and the longing and all the memories. I have friends right now going through breakups, even in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 20s, teens. And the more you flush that out, the lighter you become, but it requires the courage to flush and keep flushing daily, weekly, monthly. And it's a process, and it doesn't have to take forever. Healing isn't about length, it's about depth. And the deeper you go into it, the greater you accelerate the process. Transformation can be immediate if you go deep enough. But it requires the courage to go into it, and that's what you need to do, Vivian, because yes, you are broken, and I'd be shocked if you weren't. All right, next question. Okay.
There's somebody in a lot of pain on YouTube, Sven. This is from Chase, who asks, how do you get your suicidal and self-harm thoughts to go away?
You don't. The goal isn't to get them to go away. They're not going to go away. Now, I know what you mean, but that language implies if I can just get some trick or avoid them or bottle them up or just do something, then they'll go away. No. I want you to look really closely, Chase. I'm going to put up my arm closely. You probably can't see it. The light's not very good. Hold on. Oh, shit. I don't have a flashlight. All right. I have 9-inch scars running up my forearms, Chase. Okay. All right. I was in a suicidal depression for 12 years. And I had to get myself out of it because I couldn't find a therapist who would help me. All right. And this was I finally got out of about 25 years ago. And I'm in my late 50s now. And I didn't bottle it up, or I didn't find some trick. What I had to do was go into it. You guys have heard me quote the great Sufi poet Rumi a million times. And it's just, there are a million other quotes similar to this, but Rumi says the cure for the pain is in the pain. You want to know how you finally get out of it? You go into it and you go through it. You've got so much fucking pain inside of you, Chase, and it's fucking killing you from the inside out to the point where you want to kill yourself to make it all go away. You think there's no hope, and there is. All right? I've never been happier than I was and have been since 2007. Started back in 2001 when I finally got past the suicide and began to really accelerate my healing. And life just began to get better. And what's funny is I was really the happiest in my life. I remember I was at a Caribou Coffee in Minnesota, and I was homeless, living in my car. And I was at a Caribou Coffee. I could afford to go get myself a mocha, and they used to make their mochas, and they'd put little chocolate-covered coffee beans on top, free. They put 2 of them on there. I loved Caribou. Their mochas are the fucking best. And I wish Caribou were still around. It is in a few states like Minnesota, where it's from. Anyway, and I just randomly started laughing. And I realized I had finally gotten it all out of me. And I was never in my entire life, I had never been happier than I was then. And I actually had a pretty good childhood. But I had never been happier that I'd finally healed from all the stuff from my suicide. So when I tell you from that 12-year depression, when I tell you, Chase, there is not only hope, there's your best life. And I've been happy ever since. Oh, are there down days? Yes. Are there struggles? Yes. Are there challenges? Yes. Are there hardships? Sure. When you've been through hell? Shoot. going through hell the second time or the third time, it's like, fuck, I know all the way marks. Let me show you this way. Here's a little detour. Here's a little shortcut. It's nothing the second, third, fourth time. I mean, okay, but there is life. You just have to have the courage to go into the pain and do the work and come out the other side, my man. All right.
Kim on YouTube says, God, I miss caribou.
Yeah, right?
You know, you can still get it for your Keurig.
Hey, for what it's worth, you guys, because we were discussing suicide, TikTok just cut my feed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
TikTok is the most fucking anal retentive bullshit because those Chinese are real fucking particular about fucking... Yeah, it's such bullshit. They'll leave 50 fake accounts up of badass counseling, but you fucking mention suicide or sex and all of a sudden it's off limits. Fuck you. All right. And you hit appeal and they'll still say fuck you. Okay. Anyway, that's that. Let's get back to the people who are here. Tammy Brewer McFeely on Facebook asks, why do you think at 57 I still have abandonment issues and how it started? Because you haven't drilled down to the root causes. And that's okay. For what it's worth, Tammy, I know you may feel like, shit, I should be over this at 57. I have clients in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s who are finally going down. Finally just so tired of it. And they're, shocked. They're saying, I should have done this when I was 30, but I want to do it now because I want to live. I think you still have them because you've spent your life probably running from it, not wanting to touch it, maybe escaping it or staying distracted. And now it's facing you square in the face. And you don't have to go into it, but the truth is you're going to continue to live in whatever form your life has been up till now. But the mere fact that you still have the issues says they are going to be there in 20 years. They're not magically going away. They don't. And what that means, your abandonment issues aren't just abandonment issues like that, like daddy issues, or it's just that doesn't explain anything. At the root of your abandonment issues are fear. Massive fear, but it's as a result of massive pain. And until you go down into the origins of that massive pain and begin to decharge those memories, because you have memories that have emotional charges attached to them. And until you begin to remove those emotional charges by going down into it and flushing up the memory and flushing out those emotional charges, they will remain and you will continue to be afraid of it. All right? Thus, you have to go into problem and do the work. All right, next question. Let's see. I've got one here. Unless you have one for me, Rob, let me know.
Yeah, I have something on YouTube I think I can interpret.
Go for it.
This is from the Heart Singing. How to deal with the empty alone feeling I get when I follow my intrinsic motivation, that huge empty space of possibility with trying to be what someone else wants.
Okay, you need to read that again. That's a lot of words.
Yeah, I know, and I've asked for short questions, and I'm being ignored. All right. How do I deal with the empty, alone feeling I get when I follow my intrinsic motivation? I guess that means when I'm true to myself.
When I'm true to myself, yeah, I feel alone.
That huge empty space of possibility, that's with trying to be what someone else wants. That's not trying to be what someone else wants.
And so how do I deal with how I feel when I'm trying to
How do I deal with this alone feeling?
Oh, it's just the same way you deal with any other feeling. You begin to, same way. You're not going to be able to be authentic unless you have the ability to get out all your feelings. You're not going to be able to think clearly unless you can get out all your feelings. You're not going to have the motivation to get up every day to do your workouts unless you can get out all your emotions and feelings, saying, I don't want to fucking work out today. Fuck this shit. You're not going to be able to do anything in life. What hamstrings more happiness in life, ruins more relationships, kills more careers is all this stuff going on inside, right? In a relationship, in a marriage, where we want to get divorced. Oh, fuck you, you're this. It's all our hypercharged emotions. And the more we can get those out, the more we can just sit and talk calmly and sort out the problem. But we get so fucking charged up with emotions. And I'm as guilty as anyone. So I'm not talking down to anyone. I'm coming up to support you from underneath because I'm 10 times more guilty than any of you fuckers. All right? But you've got to decharge, and that's what's going on here. So you're having the courage to begin to live from your authentic state, which is fantastic, and I applaud you for that. What's the person's name?
It's the handle is From the Heart Singing.
Okay, so singing, The fact that you're having the courage to begin to live authentic is fantastic. So many people are trying to get to that state. So you're at that state now, but you feel so empty and it feels so vast and you feel so alone. Great. You need to be flushing those feelings out. All right. It's just more feelings. Sit with the feelings. Welcome the aloneness. Welcome the feelings. Don't run away. Don't grab the bottle. Don't distract yourself and start cleaning.
Actual name, Rebecca.
All right, Rebecca. Don't get busy or trying to escape or start working harder or doing something to escape those alone feelings. Sit in the grand discomfort. Welcome it as your friend and write about it. How are you feeling right now? How is this aloneness feeling? It hurts so bad. Really, what are the other voices? What are the other messages coming with it? I'm so alone. Nobody's here to help me. I'm alone. I feel the world is so big. Nobody loves me. Whatever the feelings are, write it out, flush it out, flush it out, flush it out. And eventually you're going to realize that big, grand, empty space is your space and it's not as scary anymore. And all of a sudden it's going to be like, wait, this big empty space is my canvas. This big empty space is my vast life canyon that I get to sing into. This big empty space I get to dance through. This big empty space I get to paint. This big empty space I get to create words in. Whatever your medium is, media are. You grow comfortable in the big empty space inside of you. But here's the thing. The real point is this, guys, is that the more you have the courage to be authentic, the more you understand that there are people who don't want you to be authentic. They want you to be who they want you to be. The price is aloneness oftentimes. You're going to lose people. And I talk about this in the book. There's a hole in my love cup. You're going to begin to lose people who want you to be that. So the price of becoming, authentic is, do I have the courage to lose people or potentially just walk away from people because I don't want to be with them anymore? That's the price. And the people who really love you will just say, fuck, be you, man. I love you. I love that you have the courage to become. That's what you're confronted with right now. All the feelings that come up with the price as the price of becoming new Rebecca. Next question. This is a question I get a lot of, and I've done several posts on it. It's overthinking. Stephanie Steberg asked the question on Facebook. How do I settle the mind of an overthinker? Okay, I'm going to assume you are talking about you. Although the way you say it sounds like you could be saying, like, my son is an overthinker. How do I settle his mind? I'm not going to address that. I'm just going to address as if it is you're talking about. How do I settle my own overthinking mind? We overthink because of pain. Past pain, present pain, or potential future pain. Overthinking is an attempt to either process, and I hate that fucking word process, but process past pain. We're trying to come to terms with it. We're trying to understand it. We're trying to get our head around it. Why? So that we can understand it in parts so that we can make sure it never happens again in the future. So it's about pain avoidance, but it's also trying to tame past pain to understand it in part again, so it won't happen in the future. But what overthinking often is a derivative of that, or it's very similar to that. It is looking at, we have fear of pain, and so we're constantly gaming out scenarios to see, as I think about, well, should we buy the house or should we just keep our money invested and buy later when interest rates drop? I'm just creating, a silly example. Okay, well, we game out every single scenario. Or should I take this trip to Tucson or not take the trip to Tucson? We game out every single fucking scenario to its logical and illogical conclusions to find out what the pain will be. And if there's going to be pain, well, then I'm not going to do that. And then if I go this direction, make these choices, okay, I'm not going to do that. We're so afraid of pain. We've been so hurt in the past that an overthinker is constantly gaming out every possible scenario to find out if I'm going to experience pain, and if so, how much. The overthinker is constantly processing pain experiences from the past, trying to get their head around them to avoid pain in the future, and is also simultaneously always looking at potential questions and futures to avoid pain in the future. And so what's the task? The task to solve it is the only way you can settle the mind is to go into all of that past pain and begin to flush out the origins and to begin to decharge the memories of the original emotional charges, because then you'll no longer be afraid of the pain, because that pain that still exists, those emotional charges from those original experiences are still in you, and they get zapped. They get re-electrified every time you get something new that is similar to it. That's what we call being triggered. Those past electrical charges attached to your past memories, those get re-electrified, and it hurts fucking bad. And that's what you're trying to avoid by all of your overthinking. So the real task is going into your past and decharging those things, getting those electrical charges out of you. All right, Next question. How do you keep, this is from Valerie. Short question here, Rob on Facebook.
Oh, I guess because I asked for short questions when I was getting very long ones.
There it is. So people are listening.
There we go.
Okay. Valerie asks, how do you keep living while healing and not isolating yourself? Well, forgive me for asking the obvious question, but what's wrong with isolating yourself? I mean, because you're basically saying, how do I not isolate myself? Which implies you are isolating yourself. And if you are isolating yourself, why are you isolating yourself? It's almost as if your natural reflex is to isolate yourself, and you don't want to isolate yourself. So if you and I were talking in person, I'd be asking you two questions. Why is your natural reflex to isolate yourself? And two, why is that bad? See, I look at things like, now I'm going to bring in a separate thread here. I studied back when I was doing my heaviest reading and I was getting myself out of my own depression and so forth. I did a lot of reading into the writings of guys, but obviously my favorite author, Joseph Campbell, but particularly a guy by the name of James Hillman. And James Hillman, who was the head of the Youre Institute in Switzerland, he was an MD and a psychiatrist, and he talked about this a lot, but they're rethinking this notion of depression. And what if depression is the soul calling us down? What if it's not a bad thing? What if it is calling us down into a state of healing? What if we were to allow ourselves to go into depression and allow it to teach us and allow it and use this opportunity to heal the soul and to purge the pain that is in the soul, rather than seeing depression as something to be run from, rather than seeing depression as something that needs to be escaped or avoided? We so dislike the discomfort and so forth, but what if we saw depression as gift? And I remember reading his works, The Soul's Code, and we've had 100 years of psychotherapy and the world's getting worse. That was one of his books. And the guy's a fucking, MD, psychiatrist, whatever. And one of his other books, Soul's Code, what was the other one? Anyway, and the Puer Papers, a bunch of his shit. And I thought, wow, this is mind-blowing stuff. And so when I began to look at my own suicidal depression as a gift, as an entree, an entrance into my own healing, that changed everything. Rather than something to be run from, it was something to embrace. And so how do you keep living while healing and not isolating yourself? Maybe the isolation of self is what you need to some degree, or maybe completely. Maybe it's not such a bad thing. But you say, how do you keep living? Well, what does keep living mean? So get up, go to your job. Then if you want to come home and shut down, then come home and shut down. Okay. But the bottom line is, I had a client recently. He's a gentleman that I work with. And he's about 50 and very successful in his career. And he was really struggling. He says, Sven, journaling, I mean to journal every morning when I get to work before my staff gets into the office. But invariably I'll turn on my computer because he journals in his computer, he types. He says, and there'll be an email there and that'll distract me. And then somebody will call into the office before office hours. Then I'm distracted. And then the day is off and running. Then I'm like, well, I'll do it, at the end of the day before I get home. But then I get distracted, or I get home and then the kids. And then I say, well, I'm going to do it at night. But then I'm too tired. And then I say, well, I'll do it tomorrow morning. And then the whole thing repeats. And I said, well, why don't you just stop trying to do it every day? Why don't you just say, I'm going to do it twice a week. I'm going to do it on Sunday nights, and I'm going to do it on Friday mornings. Just do it twice rather than every single day. Okay, what's the point? And he did that, and he's like, oh my God, Sven, this is the greatest. I do it 2 hours on Sunday nights, and I do it an hour and a half on Friday mornings rather than trying to do a half hour every day. And it's great because I've sort of built up stuff I want to talk about in my journaling and in my meditating. And it really works well for me. I don't feel guilty, and it blocks it off, etc. What am I getting at? So, Valerie, what I'm getting at is, how do you keep living while healing? What if, rather than trying to deal with your stuff you're trying to heal, rather than dealing with it every day, what if you were to block it off in segments each week? I have some people who take every Saturday morning and just spend Saturday morning or Sunday morning or whatever it might be, a massive block of time, 4 hours or 5 hours, and that is their healing time for the week. Or they're going into their problems time. I have some people who say, no, I am 45 minutes every morning. I wake up extra early, and I've just cut my gym workouts a little shorter to make time, or I cut my sleep a little shorter, go to sleep a little earlier, whatever. But how do you do it? You commit. And then she writes, I'm terrified. Yeah, sounds like you are terrified. This stuff is scary shit, you guys. This is the scariest shit of life. I have worked with first responders and soldiers and all sorts of stuff, and invariably they tell me, Sven, this is the scariest thing I've ever done. And I say, scarier than facing bullets? And for a great many of them, most of them, it's like, yeah, I'd rather face bullets, because that takes my mind off all the shit that's been going on inside of me since, I was younger, since I was a kid, all the stuff I'm trying to run from. All right. Rob, you got a question over there?
All right, Sven, on YouTube, Matthew says, I feel like I'm a subpar parent because of my work schedule and not being able to spend more time with my son. So how do I balance that guilt with the pride of being able to provide?
Well, the guilt you flush out. That's through your journaling and letter writing and so on and so forth. Let me ask you a hard question. What's his name?
Matthew,
let me ask you a question. The mere fact that you feel guilt says that you want to spend more time with your son. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel guilty. So what that tells me is that you see value in spending time with your son. You see that as important, right? Obviously. And what I hear you then saying, and I'm just trying to understand based on what you've said, all right? I'm sure I'm missing the mark, so you'll forgive me, okay? And what you're saying is, but I do take pride in that I'm providing. And that's good. It's fantastic. A lot of parents don't, but you do. But you also know that's not enough. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel guilty, obviously. I'm going to talk straight to you, Matthew. I'm going to be really fucking straight with you. You need to flush out all those feelings of guilt, okay? That you can, clean your conscience on one hand. But here's the really straight part. And it's a question. What would it take for you to change your life so that you can make more time with your son? It doesn't even have to be tons. What would it take? Would you need to have a little less money each month? Or relocate, maybe one less day of work, a week, or not a week, but, every 3 weeks, or relocate your job, or what do you need to do? Because even you recognize that your son needs more time and you want more time with your son. And just providing, I'm going to be straight with you, and these are my values, and maybe these aren't your values, but the mere fact that you feel guilt says it is your values. Just providing isn't enough. Your son needs his father to be present, and you know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel guilt. So I'm not trying to be a dick. I swear to God, and there's no judgment, my friend. But you know your son wants to be close to you more than anything in the whole world. He doesn't need shiny things. He doesn't need expensive things. He doesn't care about money. He just wants you. One of the things I regularly ask clients who felt neglected or were abused or whatever. And I'm not saying you're doing any of those things. Okay. I'm just giving a question that I bring up with clients. One of the questions I frequently ask is, if you could grow up in a home that was wealthy or well-to-do, but it was absent of love and support, or you could grow up in a home that was poor, but it was full of love and laughter and support, which would you choose? I've been asking this question for 30 years, over 30 years of clients. In the entire time, I don't recall one person ever saying that they would choose the home that was well-to-do but empty of love. So if you think that you're buying all those extra things for your son, I'm sure he appreciates them, but you're not. All he wants is to throw a ball with you. All he wants is to hold your hand and go for a walk. All he wants is to do a puzzle with you while sitting on the floor. All he wants is to wrestle around with you, or have him show you how to turn a wrench or change the oil or whatever. And I'm not trying to lay a trip on you, brother, but there's no substitute for time and guiding him and teaching him, because one day he'll end up in my office or Savannah's office, who was on here earlier, just wishing that his old man had made time for him.
He's responding very positively. He says, hear you loud and clear. Material things are insignificant to me and him. You're absolutely right, says Matthew.
Yeah, it's very kind of you. And again, not trying to trip you, lay a trip on you, but the mere fact that you feel guilty says you want more time with him and he wants more time with you. Give him the love, man. So many parents wish they had. So many adults wish their parents had done it. And you have the opportunity. It's staring you right in the face. You have the opportunity, my man. Even if it's just a little bit more. It's like the Dalai Lama says. And I'm not Buddhist, but it's a good piece of fucking wisdom on a different topic. The Dalai Lama says, even if you can't be a vegetarian, that's okay. Just eat a little bit less meat. Now, that's pretty fucking cool. He's not being some hard ass saying, stop eating fucking meat, because I guess he's a vegetarian or some shit, right? But he's not being a dick, right? He's just saying, hey, just consider eating less. And I'm like, now there's a reasonable man. So I'm not saying give up your job and just spend every minute of every day. No, that's dumb, because you still got to fucking eat, and your son still has to have clean undies, right? Okay, so you got to buy him new undies, and you got to pay for detergent and have a washing machine, right? Okay, but maybe he needs someone to teach him how to do laundry. My mom taught me how to do laundry by the time I was 3 or 4, all of us kids, because there were 6 of us, and everybody had to learn how to do laundry and scrub your own fucking stains on your jeans and shit like that. All right, but it's like he wants your time, because time is love, man. And not uptight time where you're thinking about all this other shit, but just time with you. You have an opportunity, Matthew. Take it, because you'll regret it later if you don't, or he will. All right.
Great way to end the show. Great way.
All right, good.
You know what? You're the best, Sven, really.
No, you are, Rob.
No. That was a brilliant answer, and Matthew appreciated it. I think many or all of our listeners really appreciated that.
Shucks. Except everybody in the administrative offices at TikTok and their fucking algorithm.
They're happy to shut you down.
Yeah, well, suck it. All right. I can say that because they're not listening. Well, they probably are listening because, hey, my phone is here. And, fucking, let's see, it's an Apple phone. So who's listening to me? Who owns Apple?
Not Jeff
Bezos.
No,
Steve Jobs is listening. No, he's dead.
He's dead. You're thinking about Tim Cook.
Tim Cook's listening.
That was made in China, so you never know.
Whatever. Somebody's fucking listening. They're all listening. Whatever. What are they going to sell me tonight when I go home and I'm doom scrolling in bed while drinking a gin and tonic?
The answer is everything.
Everything. That's right. Well, Rob, any final thoughts today?
I think I'll just give Matthew the last word, who says, I'll take your advice and run with it. It's the first tangible response I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Matthew, how old are you?
If he answers, I will tell you.
All right. I'm curious.
Here we go. I'm 30 and my son is 9.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
We're all just so excited for you, Matthew. A, that a father is listening to a counseling show, a man. Kudos to you, brother. 2, that he's asking what parenting questions. Fucking mega kudos to you. 3, that he feels guilt over his parenting. Super mega kudos to you. 4, that he's open and receptive to parenting ideas. Super awesome, fucking massive mega kudos with the cherry on top to you. And 5, that you're going to change and you feel your son's love and you want to give more love to your son and you're going to change. Just, dude, you are changing a son's life. All the people, all of us, everyone here trying to heal from childhood trauma, and you are saving your son from having childhood trauma. We are all fucking standing and cheering, motherfucker. Because you're doing it and you're a father, you're a man doing it. Jesus, Mary and Joseph and all that's holy. How beautiful is that?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Well,
Uber,
folks,
Uber kudos.
Uber kudos. Uber kudos. Say that 3 times fast.
No.
Uber kudos. Uber kudos. I can't. All right, folks, this has been super duper fantastic, except for TikTok. Fuck them. We have loved having you here with us. This has been really delightful. Thank you for tuning in on behalf of my team. Sophia the artist in absentia, KC in the booth, and Rob the Rocket. I am Sven Erlandson, Badass Counselor. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.